Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lion's Den Show. And here's your host, Cody Robert Judy.
Welcome to the Lion's Den Show. I'm your host and your host, Cody Robert Judy. Cheers, it's good to be with you. Today is July 8th, 2011, and we have an unprecedented show for you today. To borrow the term from the title, The President and the Constitution's Natural-Born Citizen Precedent. Let me explain the word precedent for those who may not know or understand that word when it comes to the legal understanding. Precedent, to put it simply, means a defining judgment. And that can come from the host of areas and intricate understandings regarding questions of law. However, as you may ascertain, in the judicial branch of the government, the United States Supreme Court is indeed the highest court in the land. And when that court makes a decision on the issue, it becomes the precedent for all the lower courts in the land to follow. Now let us consider one of the defining qualification demands for the United States President, found in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the United States Constitution, we call the natural-born citizen qualification. Let us investigate the precedent case, or the defining judgment of the United States Supreme Court considered on the natural-born citizen criteria. By investigating this, you're going to gain an understanding of why every court that comes into contact with this issue squirms with the legal precedent shudders. If you understand precedent, you'll understand the demands of the course of justice, like water running down a river. You also understand that, like the accident that happened up in Montana, when exceptional spring runoff hurled maybe a big log and an underground pipeline, exploding the oil into the nice clean water of the river, what happens to a pure course of justice when precedent is also broken? Of a natural course, the damage may not be life-threatening immediately, but it can leave a bad stain on a few who are in the direct outburst. Those who may have been standing up on the issue surrounding or sounding warning calls are covered in the oil and stain, while it really hasn't affected anyone further down the stream. The oil just keeps on moving downstream, affecting more and more who come in contact with it. Obama's ineligibility affects 100% of the people in the United States sooner or later. In a new poll, near 49% of all Americans across the board feel Obama is questionably qualified to be president, and has hidden things about his constitutional qualifications that tells us nearly 50% of the general public have acknowledged some kind of oil stain on them, desiring Congress to hold verification of qualification hearings to investigate and put everything out on the table. That includes testimony of professional experts who have put their professional lives in danger from calling Obama's long-form birth certificate a forged document, and an acknowledgement that his father is indeed a British subject, and Obama cannot hold the office as a dual citizen. With the other 50%, they may not have acknowledged any effect from the stain of Obama. It is creeping towards them, though, like the oil flowing down the river. And these people may also not care if the Constitution is upheld, or even if the United States breaks up. It's a Hitlerian concept many have no problem with. The true nature of those who desired to supersede the Constitution is indeed slavery. This is the ambition of Obama, or he would not have lied in the first place about his natural-born citizen qualification in order to appear qualified or even consider running for president. When someone builds on a lie, the flaw in their character is then the foundation of that character. With Obama, this is not a firm foundation, but a weak one, because it's not built upon truth. That's why in the precedent case considering natural-born citizen in 1874 and 75, there was found to be no question about the natural-born citizen who was born in the country to parents who were citizens, as was deliberated in U.S. Supreme Court Minor versus Happersett. That's 88 U.S. 162, 1875. The court explains that we did not need the 14th Amendment to create U.S. citizens. It explains that before the adoption of the 14th Amendment, the Constitution itself did not prescribe what a citizen was. While the court does not cite the law of nations, the Constitution does in fact cite the law of nations in regards to the powers granted to Congress in Article 1, Section 8. Among those powers, we find a list of powers granted to Congress, and that includes in that list are the words found in Clause 10 of Section 8, to define and punish offenses against the law of nations. Now, this reference does not say laws of nations, referring to laws that should be passed by the UN someday. It is singular, law of nations. And the word law is capitalized, and so is the word nations. The concept of nation, political community, associations of persons for the promotion of the general welfare, and member of the nation are formed by the association are all concepts that are found in Edward D. Vantil's The Law of Nations, 1758. But many have said the Constitution doesn't define natural-born citizen outright. Well, the Constitution doesn't define piracies and felonies either. Nor does it define what coining money means, but we are not confused with the word coining when it comes to printing dollar bills, are we? However, Clause 10 comes as near to naming the book and the book's precepts as to where to find expanding definitions of people committing treason or felonies, or defining what we would call domestic enemies or snakes trying to take our own government over from within, as we could possibly assume from a term law of nations, capital L for law and capital N for nations. The U.S. Supreme Court explained in Minor v. Happersett that anyone who was a part of these people at the time of the drafting of the Constitution were the original citizens of the United States, and that is why the exception of natural-born citizen prior to the Constitution was extended to the framers as citizens when it came to qualifying for president. This, of course, would not even have been necessary to put it if the framers thought that they qualified as natural-born citizens. The court then says that citizenship would not be limited to only those in this original category. For if the Constitution and Article 2 provided for allowing more citizens to be created by birth, than in the clause giving Congress the power to establish uniform rules of naturalization, which is a code word meaning basically adoption into the family. The court tells us that the Constitution does not define what a natural-born citizen is, and though that is true, they missed saying the Constitution does tell us where to go to find out in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10. As I've enumerated upon the law of nations. The U.S. Supreme Court then said the following in explaining what a natural-born citizen is. At common law, with the nomenclature of which the framers of the Constitution were familiar, it was never doubted that all children born in a country of parents who were its citizens became themselves upon their birth citizens also. These were natural-born citizens, as distinguished from people who were naturalized or adopted versus the foreigners. As to this class of citizens born within the country to parents who were not citizens, there have been doubts and cries heard, such as anchor baby, those foreigners wishing their offspring to be included as natural-born citizens by their own will, rather than by the law or by the process of adoption, as we call naturalization. The problem our founders saw in that, only in consideration of the office of the presidency, was that the natural force of 2 generations was superseded by 1 generation. That posed a security breach of national security concerns. It would indeed be possible, for example, for a foreigner to ascend a child with the help of foreign money and influence to the top post of the United States in the order to gain all our national security secrets. Think of that just for a moment and what that entails. Our own weapons would or could be used against us. Our own money could be used against us. It would mean the end by force and compromised acquisition of forfeiture all at the same time. You wouldn't have to fire a weapon because you control all the weapons of major influence. If you control the nukes of the United States, that power, the United States can't use them against you. Certainly. And our own politicians could cover at the thought. Our own politicians would cower at the thought of or threat of that discovery, or even thought of letting that cat out of the bag. They might even never oppose the qualification of someone like that who had been successful, because the very thought of opposing someone in that position would mean the destruction of, say, New York or Kansas City from off the face of the map. It is possible that Obama is the point of that sword. Is that why our politicians have sought so hard to defend Obama across the board? From what is so basic in the Constitution that Congress refuses the will of 50% of the U.S. population to open simple hearings of verification of qualification. Forget about Obama releasing the true long-form birth certificate. There's no right to privacy from potential terrorists. Our own Homeland Security's favorite Patriot Act assures that there is no privacy, yet Congress refuses to even hold a hearing on the matter of such a profound national security breach that it threatens whole cities. I think you know now why Congress has utterly keistered their oaths towards the Constitution. The question now is, what can we do about it? The only solution is to move in such a force towards the eligibility question of Obama in-house occupation that they see our own national security lies within our voting rights and our support towards a candidate that can propel our silence into a force of nature that they cannot sustain or contain. But that would take a candidate who believes and has believed in the Constitution's presidential qualifications since that man Obama started campaigning for president in 2008. It would take you believing in me, because I sued John McCain and Barack Obama on the issue. It's hard to say that we only have one candidate that gives us a chance, but one candidate, America, is all you need. If you choose another candidate to support, you are choosing the destruction of the United States because there are followers of Obama in silence. That's what every Republican candidate is right now in the race, a silent follower of Obama, and in such a destroyer of the Constitution. You can debate policy at every stop sign in the road, and there's nothing more than there's nothing more Obama would love to have you do, because he's got those strings covered. Gas can go down, money can be infused. If you think, to borrow a coined phrase from President Bill Clinton, it's about the economy, stupid. If you think that that economy trumps the Constitution, ask yourself, which came first? Has the dollar also been the top-rated currency of the world? Has the United States always been a superpower? The answer to those questions is no. And if and when you seek to destroy the Constitution, you simply shatter freedom and liberty's gifts upon you. And you certainly call for divine power to flee from your house. Of course, you have heard of cleanup efforts from the oil stains on wildlife. This is exactly what the precedent of the President's qualifications of natural-born citizen does for our freedom. It cleans it up. I'm Cody Robert Judy. Until next time, cowboy up and spur 'em in the guts.